Okay, hopefully hopefully this works. I don't know if anyone can hear me fine at all or anything like that. We'll see. Fun stuff. How's everyone doing? Let's see, I'm just gonna check my settings, guys. Okay. It looks like we're good. We're good to go. Hello. Hi, Bree. Can you guys hear me all right? Hopefully you guys can hear me all right. Hello. Hi, guys. Popping in. Hopefully this is not too late for you guys. I think it's always like hard trying to juggle what's a good time for everybody. So anyway, hello. Hi, guys. I see Selena, Elda, Mastermind Studios, Bree, Bray, Mushroom Vibes. Thank you, Tyler. Hello, guys. Welcome. I have some interesting catching. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. I have some catching up to do with you guys. There's a lot of stuff that's happened these last couple of weeks. So I'm happy to hang out with you guys. I feel like it's been forever since we've done a live stream, which is fair, which is so fair. Let me move my screen over here. Hopefully can you guys hear me all right? Hopefully you guys can hear me all right. Hi, Drew. Hi, Kai. Thank you so much for the love. Perfect. I don't know if the mic is connected or not. That's the weird thing. So maybe it's just normal audio. That's okay. And that's fine too, I suppose. Hi. How's everyone been? I'm sure you guys have so many questions. Nice. I know. Well, surprisingly, so they're all antiques, which is awesome. So yeah. Thank you guys. Right. So how's everyone been doing this month? April. I can't believe we're already in April. The year is like flowing by or just passing us by really fast. So anyway, let's I have a spooky story. I actually saw a real ghost. Oh my god. And when I say real ghost, I mean like a physical ghost since I'm like a paranormal nerd here, I can get all technical with the paranormal and stuff like that. Hi Hannah from the Philippines. But I wanted to share with you guys what I saw at the Queen Mary. I don't know if we've had people ever visit the Queen Mary in the chat box. Let me know if you have. But the Queen Mary is located in Long Beach, California. And it's this beautiful ship. You can stay the night there. You can book tours there. You can eat there. So anyways, I got invited recently. I got invited. My friend invited me. I was her plus one to, it's called 57 Ghosts. And it's this theatrical seance. So if you ever go to the Queen Mary, check out the 57 Ghosts. And they also have their Great Ghost Project. That's the paranormal tour. So anyway, but we went the theatrical seance route. And first of all, you can't record what's in the room. I mean, most theatrics you can't, unfortunately. So anyway, before I get into that story, we were in the lobby by the bar. I was getting a cup of water. I don't drink. But anyway, so we were by the bar getting water, and the bartender was telling us that she saw a ghost recently, and she showed it to us she had a photo on her camera, and she was saying that they were closing out and they took a picture of the seance room, and in the back corner there was this little girl, her head was poking out, just smiling at them. So I'll probably have to do a video or something on that and share that here briefly. But regardless, that's already just set the tone of the rest of the night. Hi Brandon. Oh, you just joined, Mr. Wanapan. You just joined. You haven't missed too much. We're about to talk about the Queen Mary and how I saw a physical ghost. We'll get into that. So that set the tone, and then the host is starting to talk about like the history of the ship. He takes us by these stairs, and by the staircase, there's like the bathrooms and the downstairs, and basically there's this area where apparently people have fallen and been, they've died falling down the stairs, they've cracked their necks. And anyway, so that they say that there's apparitions in that area. But anyway, I digress. So we go inside and we do this seance. It lasts for about an hour and a half, I think it's like 2 hours, honestly. And, the room itself was very beautiful. They had like the circle of chairs, a small table in the center. They had portraits of 57 people, which is like hence the 57 ghosts. And he starts talking about like the urban legends of the ship, how they always see this little girl, the spirit of this little girl roaming the ship and stuff like that. And then in the corner, I saw like this bridal gown, which I should have asked about that, but you'll understand why I didn't get to ask. So then at the very end of the seance, we things started happening and I thought it was part of the seance, but apparently it wasn't. So there was this wooden box on our way out of the seance room. And again, it's a theatrical seance. So a lot of this is like magic tricks. It's theatrics. It's not a real seance. It's all for entertainment. However, there were people that did cry, reminiscing about their deceased loved ones. So as we're getting ready to exit out, there's this wooden box and there's a doll. But throughout the seance, you could only see like the forehead of the doll, right? You couldn't see its full face or anything like that. But as we were leaving, like we heard some like weird, like sounds. And again, I thought that was like the mechanics, maybe things that he was using. I don't know. And as I turn to look, I see it's the doll's head pop out of the wooden box. And I'm like, okay, spooky. But again, it must be part of the theatrics. So we go outside and this couple, they saw the same thing and they asked the the guy who hosted the seance, the history of that doll and if it's haunted or anything, because she was getting weirded out by it. And he actually said he believes there might be some type of haunting to it. Who knows? And he starts talking about this history of it. So as he's trying to talk about the doll, so imagine that like, in front of you, there's these two black metal doors and the metal railings. And to my side is the host, and he's like talking. So I'm seeing the side profile of him. Okay. So behind his shoulder, I see this white orb walk past him. And in that moment, you guys, like, this is the thing about like paranormal things or ghosts and hauntings. Like, in the moment, like, you don't register what's happening. I like to think that paranormal and ghost sightings are not as obvious as one would think. And I'm going to get to that. So it walks past his shoulder, this white blob, and no one's noticing it because, again, it's still a couple of feet away from him. But I see this walking around to the front of the doors, and I can see like it trying to get through the doors, and you hear this metal clanking. And I'm like, weird. Am I really seeing what I'm seeing right now? Like, oh my God, am I hallucinating? What's up? And at first I was like, is this an eye booger? Like when you have like gunk, I don't mean to be all like TMI and ew and stuff, but like, and so I'm over here like, what is this? So then, I'm blinking a couple of times. I'm like, what am I seeing? But no, like I saw what I saw. And what made it even confirmed was it could hear the metal clanking, like it was trying to get through the door. So then it just dissolves through the door. And I'm like, what did I just see? And of course, everybody around us, it's the couple, these two girls to my side and my friend, they're all like basically listening to the host intently on the history of this haunted doll. So I'm like, what did I just see? But then I heard the girl to my right gasp, turn to her friend. She's like, did you freaking see that? And her friend's like, no, I did not see that. What are you talking about? So then I turn to her and I touch her shoulder. I'm like, no, did you see that? And she's like, yes. So she saw the same exact thing. And so I think it's interesting because I wasn't the only one, but then on top of that, we heard the metal clanking on the door. So I thought that was really weird. And so I have to say, this is like a physical apparition, like a physical manifestation of a ghost. Okay, so that's what happened. And no one else noticed it. The host did say, like, so even though he is, more on the skeptic side, which is so fine. Like, I don't mind if people are, but he was saying that weird stuff has happened, like things that like are not part of the seance show happen. So like including like the doll's head popping up like that. He claims that wasn't part of the show. I don't know. I mean, whatever. But the point of the matter is that at the very end, I saw that and it just set the tone because the lady at the bar was saying that she saw what she saw and the apparition in the photo, like, it's literally in her photo, like, she literally pulled up her iPhone and it was in her like, gallery, her phone gallery. It's not like, to me, that's even more, like, it feels more genuine and authentic than, "Hey, I posted it online." It was more of like, "This is what I caught on my camera," and with the date and everything. So, anyways, that's kinda interesting for me. So let's catch up to a couple things that people were saying. Um, yeah, real life ghosts. Oh, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. Yeah, I felt like wearing some makeup today. Um, urban legends are scary. Tyler, magical ghosts. They're good at disappearing acts. That's funny. So Debbie, it's hard to I don't know because the thing is it literally looked like a white blob. Like the more I think about that, I could have seen maybe like the silhouette of a head and half a shoulder the more I think about it. Because I did see like one side go like this, like as it was trying to open the door. Um oh hi, Bizarre Junkies. You guys need to check out Bizarre Junkies. Junkeez. Okay. So is it true that the urban legends are not real? Yeah, most urban legends are not real, but I think like the bunny man, that one is a creepy urban legend. We've done that on this channel, and that one does have like true origins to it. So I will say that like most urban legends, I actually have a book somewhere but behind me somewhere, and it's all like all the urban legends. And fun fact, some of these urban legends that we grew up hearing, I remember for me, at least for my generation, I remember like seeing these chain emails or like, people would send like these chain emails or even like comments now on like videos like these, like, if you don't read this out loud, you'll die at midnight. So some of those stories within these like chained emails and comments, those have some like origins from urban legends. Yeah, Tyler. Yeah, there's definitely like I feel like urban legends, it's like telephone, right? Like I think there might be some truth to it, but then over the years of people retelling it, it just kind of loses its like, authenticity. I don't know what's the word I want to use for that. Okay. Is it good? Yeah, you can definitely tell your story, Hannah. Um, you tried the ritual Bloody Mary. Hi, Alvi. I love the frog emojis. Mr. Monopon says, "My grandpa has seen a ghost at a graveyard. He said something about a monk, but that's all I remember." Oh man, you have to definitely have him share his story with you sometime. Yeah, chain emails. Do you remember the chain emails? Oh, thank you, Debbie. I've seen three women in my dream. Dress. Ooh, red dress. Hi, Stephanie. How are you doing? Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that, Cooper. I wish you luck, Tyler. I wish you luck. I wish you luck. Interviews, I swear, I feel like finding a job is a job in itself. So yeah, that was something that I think was interesting with the Queen Mary. I wanna go back, but yeah, if you guys have gone to the Queen Mary, let me know. I think someone on here did say they've been there before. Did you guys, whoever has been to the Queen Mary in the chat box, let me know if you experienced anything, because I feel like the Queen Mary is definitely one like a location that whenever I talk to people, they either feel weird sensations or they've done the tour, and then there's like that one particular room in the tour that it just feels weird. So here's my other Queen Mary weird story. Now this is years back, and I'm more open about it now telling the story because you guys know that I love the paranormal and I love covering that stuff. So, but for the longest time ever, I never felt comfortable sharing the story because it just feels like too much of a coincidence. So you can take it or leave it with the story. So I'm just gonna say that because even when I tell the story, I'm like whatever. So anyway, when I was, I think 16 or 7, I think I'd have been 17. I was living in Minnesota, and I was flown out here for my godmother's funeral. And I remember that around that time, my sister and I and her daughter went to Long Beach. I think it was like right the day before the funeral or something like that because we were close to that area. So I think we ended up going to the Queen Mary. And anyway, so at that time, back in that era, they used to have this big book where like it's a log of everybody that's ever boarded the ship. And it's so sad because I always bring this up and not many people know about it or remember this book. So there was this podium with a book and it was in a glass box and you can flip the pages over and you can see who's ever attended and been in the inside the Queen Mary. So then I remember seeing my last name on there and that caught my eye. And I'm like, no way, because my last name is my maiden last name is very rare. So I thought that was really cool. And so I was looking through this book and then my niece like ran past me and she ran into this like banquet hall room. It has like a stage and I think they usually like host dinners and events there and stuff like that. And I need to do a video on this too. So, speaking of that. And I remembered that, like, she ran in there, and at the time, it was very empty. It was just a stage and, like, this grandfather clock, and that was it. Speaking of, like, Stranger Things and Vecna, right? Swear. But this is well before then. So, anyway, like, I had this old, like, very clunky, like, digital camera. I feel like with phones and cameras, it's way more accessible now than it was back then. I remember, like, I begged my dad to buy me this, like, digital camera. It was, like, this very, like, clunky, like, big, like, and it wasn't even, like, a good quality picture either, like, digital camera, and it was so funny to me because I think I could only take, like, maybe, like, 10 photos on that thing, so it was always very much, like, particular with what I wanted to take photos with, and so, anyway, I took a photo of my niece in the banquet because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, this is kinda eerie," so I took a picture, and when I looked in the small little screen, it was, like, literally a small, like, little tiny screen on the digital camera, you could see this man, I think it was like suspenders now that I think about it, I don't remember anymore, but he was standing right by the grandfather clock looking right at us. I'm like, "What is this? This is kinda creepy." Like, there was no one in there. Weird, and it was, like, very much like a gray, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, gray silhouette type of thing. It wasn't Yeah, it was really weird. So then I, like, was really weirded out by that. So when I flew back to Minnesota, I showed my best friend at the time and my neighbor because 'cause we're all hanging out. I'm like, I got a weird photo. You have to tell me what it is." So we all looked at it and they all agreed that it looked like this creepy, like, ghost man just looking at us next to the grandfather clock. So then I was like, "Okay, well, let me upload this to my desktop computer." So I go over to the desktop computer, and when we would upload this image, it would just disappear. I'm like, "That's so weird." That is so weird, like, so weird. It would just disappear, and so, of course, like, when you upload the image, it just disappears, and, what's so sad and unfortunate is that I've moved since then several times, so I'm pretty sure I've misplaced this digital camera and this image, so I don't know where it is, and yeah, that's my other weird story of the Queen Mary, but again, I love hearing other people's, like, weird stories of the Queen Mary because almost everyone I've ran into has some interesting story of the Queen Mary. Anyway, let me catch up on some questions. How are you doing? Okay, let's see. Thank you for the makeup comment. Oh, funny, Brandon. Um, Tyler, I'm way too scared to do anything like Bloody Mary. I'm way too scared of Yeah, fair enough. Um, well, so here's the thing. So I am a practitioner. I am a medium. I've been practicing for well over 10 years. I'm a big thing with curses. Curses, you don't get curses. They're not like candles and people are like, I'm gonna put a curse on Brandon. Like it's not like that. It's like very much like curses can be things like people wishing ill on you. Here's my thing with curses if in this physical body, in this plane, the number one rule to break a curse is just believing that you have way more power than it and you can get over it. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. Now, a hex, that's a ritual that people do like candles and stuff like that where they're like wishing ill and whatever. But even then, like I'm a big believer that we hold a lot more power than what we give credit ourselves credit for. Um so Cooper says, I've heard from my job that some ghosts kind of linger around the building at night, but I don't know if it's true or not. Oh my God, Cooper, you're gonna have to dig around and get some stories from that. I'm very curious. I wonder if people have seen like apparitions or photos or anything like that. Tyler, I've had nightmares my whole life and I've always wondered if it means anything. So if you have any information about nightmares and dreams and what that could mean, they could, oh, yeah. So I okay, so here's the thing with dreams. Yes, there are some maybe like metaphysical elements to dreams. I've had my sister's had dreams where, something happens, like she dreams it and then it happens. I will say this. I think a lot of the times with dreams, we are seeing different versions of ourselves. I'll give you an example. I was doing a dream interpretation for a client a while back. And for her, like she saw these aliens. So she saw herself in a lab and these aliens broke in and they like took her away and she just felt very much just isolated. And it turns out because she's Latina and for us, immigrants, we get called aliens. And at least for her generation, she was definitely there was names like that. So I said to her, look, I really think this is much of a version and experience that you've had in real life. So for her, kind of like looking at the symbolism. So as a kid, she was bullied for being Latina, Mexican, and she was also called an alien. Get it? Like an alien, you're not part of this country type of thing. So, and she's also very logical. She loves science. So all of these elements are her, but she's seen it replayed in a different way for her mind to process it. So that's how I feel about nightmares. I feel like nightmares can happen, but it's our subconscious telling us something that we're refusing to listen when we are awake in our conscious way. So hope that helps. I saw the ghost of nuns who died when they got violated. Oh my God, that's very, very dark, Hannah. um, Brandon, hey, have you ever tried no, I don't really, you know, I think they're fun, but I don't know. Like, I don't really like to do things to call anything bad and test things like that on me. It's cool if other people do. I have friends that do, and that's great. I'm as a practitioner, I take it more seriously, so I don't do like rituals to call anything bad on myself. Not that I believe it, but it's the intention that I'm testing and playing with fire, something that I don't really want to play with. Um, all right, so rising above the curse. Um, bye, Brandon. Let's see. So Debbie, bye. uh, Stephanie, if ghosts are real, how come not everyone can see it, and and could there be ghosts of other animals? And yes, so there's definitely stories. Like I know, like in the White House, they talked about this cat. There, I have a book. I don't know where it is that I was sent back to me, and I was reading about this black cat that like pops up in like some of these places. So animals can appear. Not everyone can see them because, like I mentioned earlier with my Queen Mary story, is like in the case where the white blob literally walked past everybody and was trying to go through the doors. No one was paying attention. Like we're not always hyper vigilant of things when it happens. It's not like a ghost enters the room. It's like, here I am, guys. I'm a ghost. See me. They don't act like that. So like it's about also like do you even notice it? Or are you so soaked into your phone or listening to somebody talking that you're going to notice a haunting? Ghosts are not always saying, I'm a ghost, I'm going to throw things around. That's not how it works. So that's why I would say that it's more of the very subtleties. And if you sit in stillness, I think that's why you'll see shows like paranormal shows where they rather investigate at night where no one's coming in and out of a building or a hotel and making all these noises. And most of the time they just sit there in silence to see if they experience anything. So that's one of the reasons why is just to make sure that like they're aware of everything. So yeah. Oh, Debbie, that's so sweet of you. So I hope that helps. Hi, Andrea. Drew, I mean, so urban legends, I think that there's some that have like origins, like the Bunny Man, like Bunny Man. We've covered that story on here where there's definitely like origins of it being true. But with urban legends, I feel like most of the time it's like telephone where like it's being told over and over again that like I think it loses its authenticity and like the facts within the story. Tyler says, I don't like the thought of people saying all ghosts are bad. I think it's just bad ones show up more because they're purposely want to cause. Yeah, that's a great point, Tyler. I think so. There's different hauntings, right? Luigi. So I think that, sorry, I'm calling my dog Luigi. um, I'm like, what chaos is he doing right now? So anyway, speaking of poltergeist activities. So yeah, I think well in general, I think we've all as a society we've kind of I won't speak for all cultures, right? But I'm Latina, I'm Salvadorian, and I know Mexicans have a very similar thing, like the Day of the Dead. We do a lot of things. Yeah, Luigi is the dog. Luigi. I think a lot of some cultures we have this whole thing where we play homage to the dead, right? We give our offerings, we spend a day just at the cemetery and hanging out with our loved ones. Oh, he is too hyper. I want to, but I feel like he'll knock everything over. He's 8 months, so and he's a corgi, so he's very low on top of that, but maybe one day. Maybe if I can change the setup, but for right now, I feel like he'll knock everything over. Actually, speaking of that, give me 1 second. I'm gonna bring him over here, but not in the camera because I know he'll knock everything over. So give me 1 second, you guys. Luigi, come here. Come on. Yep, come here. And he's also very mischievous. He loves to play with the cats. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, we lost our 7-year-old dog back in November, December-ish. So I feel you, I feel you. But next time, I promise, Debbie, we'll have Luigi here next time. So, but going back to different type of haunting, so poltergeist activity is like the ones that you were saying, like they like knock things off the walls and they're very loud and stuff like that. So that I can understand. Luigi, come here. So where people get scared, but I feel like as society, we just kind of lost the way of honoring the dead and like understanding and being more comfortable with that. Whereas like not everything's like, oh, it's a ghost, it's bad, but forgetting that like this is my opinion. Okay. So you don't have to believe me. That's perfectly okay. We can still agree to disagree, and that's okay. But I feel like we are spirits living like human experience, right? So like a lot of us are very uncomfortable with that idea. And so I think a lot of us have this very much like, oh, spirits are bad or they're all demonic. And so, when there is a haunting or they're faced with a haunting, I think sometimes some of these people manifest it even more. Apparently, according to paranormal investigators, they can cause their own hauntings. They can cause their own like burst of energy. So like when you are very scared and you're paranoid, like you start to get very jumpy. And so what you see is like the bad of it. Does that, I know I'm rambling, but I hope that makes sense. We need a new room tour. There's a lot. A room tour. My dog's name is Goliath. Oh, I love that. I miss my cat. Oh, I'm so sorry, Hannah. What happened with the last girl? So you can Google her. That's my recommendation. You can Google her and see what she's up to. Um, and yeah, go from there. The squeaky noise is my dog with his toy. Are ghosts good or evil? I think it depends, I think like, going back to what I was saying, I think that like there's certain locations like in the ghost, like at the Queen Mary, when I saw that white blob, it wasn't bad, it wasn't like I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel like there was like an uncomfortable thing. Luigi, come here. So I didn't feel like scared. I didn't feel anything. I just saw what I saw. I think, and most of the people like at the Queen Mary, there are people that work there all the time, and it's a haunted ship, and they have nothing but good things to say about working there. So I don't know. It just depends, I guess. Like, how do you feel about the afterlife? How do you feel about ghosts? Not all ghosts are gonna attach themselves to you. They don't, So I'm more of like a neutral. I feel like you know, humans, are we good or bad? I think people can definitely debate that all day. I think the same thing with spirits. They were once human, you know? Does that doll come alive at night? Which one? No, they don't though, but which one? The 3 ghosts that are in your dream? Well, they could be different versions of yourself. Saying earlier, I've done dream analysis for people, and, we've learned that sometimes nightmares can be our subconscious trying to tell us different things. Things in our dreams can be different metaphors and symbolism for them. So that's a whole deep dive, of sure. In pre-colonial Philippines, necromancy is common, especially when they respect their yeah, I mean, necromancy so here's my take with necromancy. Necromancy, because of Dungeons& and Dragons, it's been sensationalized as, like, reanimating the dead because of Dungeons& and Dragons, but the reality is, like, mediums do that all the time. When mediums talk to the dead, that is revisiting and reanimating the dead. It's through what they saying the message, relaying the message of the spirit, feeling the spirit, smelling sense. Those are all part of mediumship. I just think mediumship is a cleaner word than necromancy is. What would you think if ghost phantom as an evil? I don't know. What do you mean by that? I don't understand. Well, can we talk about PDD? Like, there's the whole like I just feel like there's so much to unpack with, like, Quiet on Set being a thing, like the docuseries, and that was like, "Oh my god, my childhood." But I'm glad they made that because it's been o overdue. And then P. Diddy and all of that, he has a long history of that. My friend and I are gonna get together and talk about the timeline because it's just like I think with people, right? Like P. Diddy and all these like controversial things, even like OJ, the whole thing with OJ, like there's so many red flags and then it doesn't get it's long thank you, Abby. It's long overdue. That's my thing. I feel like a lot of times and I used to do true crime for like, you know, BuzzFeed, like their outlet, like videos for them, and even on my own channel and stuff like that. And so I will say this a lot of the time with true crime or all these people, it's like there's so many things that they do that it's like, I can't believe that wasn't the indicator for them to get caught. Like it took this long. Jesus. Yeah. Do you think ghosts are all on the same plane or are bad ones on 101 and hood on another so that bad people are I mean, I don't know. I think it just depends, honestly. I think that's a very intricate thing. I think there's definitely like I've noticed with spirits, like sometimes if they're in a different minds, like that's cliche, but like mindset, they may not see other spirits. Like that happens a lot actually when I've gone on investigations or read people or anything like that. And even talking to other mediums, like sometimes ghosts don't acknowledge other ghosts. Like they can't even see other ghosts. So it's very interesting. That's okay, Michael. You're entitled to your own opinion. It doesn't bother me. Cooper, one time I saw a video of of an image in the sky. Some people claim that it is an angel flying through the clouds. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Debbie. Mr. Wonderfun. I thought of evil elemental powers based on evil folklore and reality problem like phantom toxic acid. Oh, interesting. I don't know. I don't know. I have no comment on that to be honest. I feel like that I would need like a day to reflect on that one. The demon that live in my house rent free is my dog. Good one, Andrea. That's so funny. Well, I mentioned I literally, Michael, from the very beginning of this live stream, I talked about my experiences with the ghosts and everything. So maybe you can watch that and revisit that and see for yourself and process. Allie, do you think that young children can communicate with ghosts more than adults? I think that over time, we live in a very logical, very much like and there's nothing wrong with that. Like science is great. It's like why we have medical advancements and stuff like that. I think that as adults, we are pressured to literally live our lives to have value, whether it's having a job and working towards a skill set to be better at that job or getting a hobby so you make a profit, especially with social media being so saturated. I think if like our focus a lot is for profit rather than leisure and feeling things. So as humans, we are very emotional and like like we're very complex people, right? And the way we express also is very unique. And I feel like we've lost that. So children, they have a lot of time to really learn the world the way it is and just with curiosity. And so yeah, I think they're way more open-minded and they don't get to the point where we are. So yeah, I think children for sure. I know I've had stories with my nephew where speaking of my godmother earlier in this conversation, for her wake, my nephew was about 5 or 6, and he's on the spectrum too, so he doesn't really talk much, and he was very bubbly too as a kid, and I remember for the wake, he tensed up, so we had to do a prayer. So we're Salvadorian, so we did like a prayer during the wake, and so what happens when someone dies is that we pray, and then we pray for the next 10 years or so, it just depends, and it's like our belief system of like helping people into the afterlife. So anyway, we did a prayer and my nephew tensed up, got really quiet and hid behind my sister. And very unlike my nephew. And when we went to eat that night, she's like asking him, she's like, "Hey, like I saw you tense up. Like why did you do that?" He goes, "Oh, I saw this woman by the casket." And we're like, "There wasn't any woman by the casket." He's like, "No, there was. There was a woman by the casket." And we're like, "Well, what does she look like?" And he was like, "Oh, she was wearing all white." I was like, "She was wearing all white?" And he's like, "Yeah, but she was looking at the casket." But he didn't say casket. He was just saying like, I'm giving you guys the casket, but he was saying like at the box, but he meant casket. And then, we're like, "Well, who do you think it was?" And my nephew, he's like, "I don't know, God?" And he said she was all in white staring. No one was there by the way. No one was up there because during the prayer, no one's allowed in that area. We're supposed to be like on the other side, like praying and stuff like that. So let's see. Ghosts and demons. I mean, ghosts are, in my opinion, ghosts and spirit. I use ghosts and spirits interchangeably. This is my definition of it. Ghosts and spirits are literally what was once living, right? Like your mother, your great grandmother, or something like that. Demons, of course, are lower energies. Now, if you believe in Abrahamic religions like good and bad, black and white, demons are not good. So that's the difference. Okay, so anyways, some of these comments. Uh Hannah, in the media, I've noticed that fairies are beautiful and humanoid, but the folk tales around the world are not, all of them are not beautiful. No, they're not. And we've done a few stories on this channel too of different versions of that. Um, Hunter, I know my puppy is in that stage of like, he is destroying everything under the sun. He is 8 months, so he's in that mode. So I feel you. Tyler, are there religions where so for people that are more like in terms of the occultism, right? I'm not going to speak for every religion. I'm not going to speak for Wicca or pagan or anything like that. But in that realm of things, um, demons are more elemental. They don't use that word demon. It's not demon like, oh, it's bad. It's out to get you. It's out to make your life miserable. But it's the idea that those energies are chaotic earth energy. So they're not human, so they don't understand humans, they don't communicate in that same way. So the communication and that energy is something that maybe you don't want to communicate with because you don't understand it, right? So that's, to me, that's like a very neutral term than like, oh, it's out to get you because you're just existing. Like that to me is like how I perceive how people perceive demons. When that's not always the case. Sometimes some of these elemental spirits, like what Debbie was saying earlier, like the fae or fairies, are not human. So maybe you don't want to communicate with that because you probably, it would probably be weird if you said something off. You know what I mean? Um, so Cooper, when I was watching an episode of Paranormal Caught on Camera, it showed a woman's TV turning on and off by itself. She claims it's the spirit of her deceased boyfriend. Oh, that is very sad and sweet. That is very sad. No, I think, I think there's different planes for sure. I think it's a lot more intricate than that. Yeah. Thank you, Hannah. It can be definitely in different forms. Your dog tried to steal your phone. Oh no. Yeah, I think like, I definitely feel like we all have our own definitions of like what's good, what's bad, like how do we express ourselves and all that stuff. But yeah. I mean, and I've also met people that believe in reincarnation, like, that's definitely part of their culture, and I've heard interesting stories and worked with people that have, like, really interesting reincarnation stories. There was this one reincarnation story that I recently told online, and it goes back to, like, my college days. So I remember that my friend, his sister came to visit the apartment. I was renting an apartment with, like, 3 other people at the time, and I remember he brought his little sister, and I really don't remember her name, but she I should remember her name, but I remember that like she was hanging out in my room and she was just like looking at all my fun stuff that I had, and she started telling me, and she was very young. I think she was like 6. I don't remember. Very very young though. She was a very young kid. And she said that she's like, "Did you know that I used to be a dog?" And I kinda laughed. I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Yeah, I I was my dad's dog in like before I was born into this life. I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was very innocent the way that she was saying. And she was like, "Oh, I was my dad's dog and I was bad and I ran away and I got hit by a car and then I came back to be he was so sad so I came back." And I was like, "My heart. Oh my god, my heart." I'm like, "What a sad story." Like I just looked at her, I was very like just shocked by what was coming out of her mouth. And I was like, "Does he know that?" She's like, I don't know." And then she just like ran away. I was like, "My heart." So she really like, she just said that. I was like, "What an interesting story." And you know what? I don't think I ever followed up with my roommate on that because I just thought she was being silly. But looking back on it now, I'm like, man, I wish I would have asked him more about that. Um, Hi, Penny. Oh my God, thank you for that. I'm a medium myself, and I agree with everything you said tonight, especially the ancestral worship. Thank you. Tyler, my little sister never met my mom's dad. Our pops and mom said that when she was younger, she said she was talking to him in her room and it made my mom weirded out. Oh, but they're kind of happy. Um, Andrea, my dog father is very clever. He can get in a ladder to the roof, but his son, my dog, is dumb and got a smart father. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so I don't know. It's just there's interesting stories that I've had. Like reincarnation is definitely an interesting topic. Like, so that was one of them. There was another interesting story I had. So while like way back when, I remember I was working with this lady who had her practice, and she also did like she was Mexican, so she did santeria. And I remember that like I so this is gonna be interesting. I remember that like her granddaughter was there, and she's like, "Can you do a reading on my granddaughter?" I was like, "Sure." So long story short, I picked up that her granddaughter was a reincarnation of the lady's mom. So the granddaughter is the grandmother. Does that make sense? The grandmother came back in this lifetime. And I said that to her, I'm like, I know that sounds crazy, but that's what I'm picking up. And the lady that owned the shop looked at me floored. She goes, it's so interesting that you say that because a couple of days ago, I finally posted a picture of my mother by the fireplace. And when I was holding my granddaughter, she pointed at that portrait. She goes, "Look, grandma, that's me." And the lady was like, "No, that's not you. That's your great grandmother. That's not you." She's like, "No, it is." So apparently I picked up on that and then they confirmed it. So that was really cool. So yeah, sometimes like there's just like even in like things that like people I've read for and like picked up on, like that stuff is to me, I'm like, okay, so it wasn't for me to like pick and probe at it just to get the message, but they confirm it, and that was one of them. Sometimes I see two white butterflies. I think it might be spirits of both of my deceased mother and grandmother watching over me. Oh, I love that. Yeah, Cooper, like definitely if you feel it, like I definitely believe that. Um, Hi, Alexander. Yeah, I know we have a few minutes left of the live stream, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. I know we've covered a lot tonight, so it's been a lot. But yeah, are you guys looking forward to anything? How are you guys liking our new content? I know we've been doing a lot of compilations on this channel, and so we've been doing compilations, and we've also started a new series where I read your guys's ghost stories, paranormal stories. It doesn't have to be ghost stories. It can be like, cryptid stuff. When I say cryptids, I'm talking about like Bigfoot, unexplained supernatural phenomenon that you might have seen and you just don't know what it is, alien stuff. Some of the alien stories I've read, oh my God, chills. There was one that I received years ago, but not for this channel, but for my own years ago of like this person said that they went to the Hill House in Texas, and I think their story had a few elements of like alien UFO phenomenon. And I know like what the last year and a half, the whole thing with like UFOs and like, the whole thing with that was bizarre to me. But anyway, with that being said, if you guys have stories, please write to us. We definitely are thinking of bringing that video once a month, preferably the second month, but we'll see with timing and scheduling, everything like that. But again, write to us your best story. Make sure that you add as much details. Don't write like a sentence like, I saw a ghost in my dream. No, that's not that's not sufficient for a video, but you should definitely explain it like the way I explained my Queen Mary experience, like, I got invited, we went to a seance, and this is the vibes, and this is what I saw, and this is who I talked to about it. Like, I wanna hear your thoughts of, like, what was your weird experience, and, like, what did you do afterwards to try to debunk it, or, like, did you have more experiences? Like, those are really interesting stories because then you come to the conclusion that, like, you've tried everything, you've literally had a checkbox of things, and it's strange. So those are the stories I wanna hear from you guys. Like, to me, those are the stories that give me chills, and even, like, the people, on our team, like, when they read it. So, we always have our emails in the description. So, yeah. So we have our email in our description, but I believe it is I'll read it out loud, and I'll type it in just in case. Um, Give me 1 second, you guys. Well, I find it. I wish I could put, like, elevator music while I find it. Let's see. Because I don't wanna botch it up. I should know the email, but I don't wanna botch it up. So, it is somethingscary@snarled.com, and I'm gonna type it in here, you guys. So that's the email, it's in the chat box. You can write to us, insert elevator music. You can write to us there, your spooky stories, or if you have any questions from this live, that too. But more importantly, I wanna hear your stories. Oh, Cooper, the one at the Hill House creeped me out because they weren't insinuating that it was UFO phenomenon, but to me, I was like, this is like the UFO phenomenon. So what happened in that story was that this person with their friend, they went to see the Hill House, but it was closed due to construction. And when they parked in front of it, they saw a person, but they saw two different versions of that person. There's only one man sitting in the front, and we're same clothes, but her friend saw the older version of that man, and she saw the younger version of that man. And I guess it was like the same characteristics, like the red hair, the beard, the flannel shirt, but she saw a way older man, she saw a way younger man. And then when they got out of there, they were heading to like the local Dairy Queen to like, decompress what happened. They said they saw bright flashing light and some weird metal clanking sounds. And they again, to me, that's weird. And then I guess, like, there's something with time, how, like, a lot of time hadn't passed, which is strange because that's all, like, symptoms of, like, time warps with the UFO phenomenon. Have you guys ever heard that story where, like, there was this couple that they were driving down, like, a highway, and they were driving and time stopped. Like, they literally lost, like, 5 hours of chunk of time or something ridiculous like that. And yeah. Channels, how do readings work? It depends. I mean, every reader is different. I would say everyone has different abilities. There are tarot readers, there are people that do automatic writing, but all essentially it's connecting to your energy and consensually, of course. Um, so yeah, they're just picking like they're answering questions that you have and like trying to kind of figure out and help you get on the right track and give you more like spiritual guidance, if you will. So hope that answers that question. I think aliens wouldn't look crazy because we could be aliens. Yeah, the same. Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's interesting because years back, I went on Tumblr and I found this post of like the several sightings of UFO, like aliens, right? And like this person illustrated all of these. Well, they put together all the illustrations of UFO sightings. Like, what do these aliens look like? And most of the time, they have two eyes, a nose, or a mouth, or not a nose, but they have the two eyes and a mouth. So it's very much similar to what we look like anyway. But I mean, I say similar very loosely, of course, but you get what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I think let me see if I missed any questions. Bye, Debbie. I think that's it. Um, I haven't wrote any stories on fan fiction. But if you have any recommendations on fan fiction that you like, you can plug it in. But yeah, okay. So here's something that you guys, uh, fun little thing that I recently happened. So we talked about all the spooky things, but then what's so funny is like yesterday I got invited. I can't talk too much about it, but Warner Brothers invited me to do a quick Q&A with M. Night Shyamalan and his daughter, Shanae Shyamalan. So I think her initials is A.M. Shyamalan, and she worked on Apple TV Plus's The Servant. She's a director, producer, and so I got to talk to both of them. And they're just such sweet people, like my heart. We talked about Studio Ghibli, and they love Studio Ghibli. And like my M Night was telling me how he took a picture with Hayao Miyazaki. I was like, oh my god, my heart. Anyway, so we're talking about like strange phenomena. Well, his daughter is definitely into the paranormal. She loves that stuff. And soon enough, you'll know why, because her upcoming film, which you'll have to check out, it's coming out in August. I'll give you a hint. But she, like, her work on Servant was amazing. And I saw the trailer for her upcoming film. It looks good. Like, it really looks good. And for me, like, I kind of picked up that it has some type of folklore attached to it, but she couldn't say too much because, again, they just showed us the trailer and then we did a Q&A. But then, I know a lot of people always bring them up, or they brought them up on some of the stuff. But then I saw Sam and Colby there, which is so funny. We talked about paranormal stuff. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with her work. Sam and Colby, they're like literally like the biggest big YouTube paranormal account on YouTube. So yeah, anyway, but that was an interesting day. And M. Night is so sweet. Like I never thought I'd sit down and like talk about anime and true crime and paranormal stuff with them, but I did, and it was great. It was really great. But yeah, be on the lookout for her film. Well, they have 2 films coming up, but this is definitely like her first film outside of like The Servant, and I think they worked on Old. It was like this other thriller, Old, or something like that. Really great works. I really recommend it though. The Servant, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's so good. So good. I feel like not many people talk about it. It's so underrated. Okay, so we're almost at time, but does anyone have any final questions before we end and wrap up tonight's live? I know I brought up the compilations that we've been doing, our new fan submitted stories that we are going to be working on, and of course, we're going to be doing the live streams. So if you have any questions on there, I'm happy to answer those questions. I know that we are definitely, Caribbean. Yeah, Caribbean urban legend stories or ghost stories are really good. Oh, Cesar, you missed most of the live. We're about to end here soon. But thank you for coming, though. I still appreciate it. So, what is, like, in terms of what? Just any sphere story or, like, favorite scary story? Let me know, and then I can they'll help me give you an answer. Oh gosh, but I feel like I mentioned a few, like, well, I just kind of loosely talked about like a user submitted story that was really eerie, and I was like that, and it gave me chills because, again, like, when I was like, is this like UFO stuff? That's weird. Favorite One of my favorite scary movie stories. Okay, the one that I thought was eerie was the one of, like, okay, remember the urban legend where, like, there's the man in the back of your seat? Do you guys remember that? Like, the man in the back of the seat where, like, the urban legend goes that she's driving and she pulls over to the gas station, and then she goes to pay inside, or she pays at the gas pump, or she pays inside the gas station, and the cashier is like being all weird and scary and trying to tell her to, like, not to go back to her car, and so she thinks that he's the bad guy. And then when she goes back to her car, she like drives off, she like speeds away, drives away. And then like the clerk is like calling for her to stop and come back, but she keeps driving away. And then she like adjusts her mirror and she sees that there's a man in the back, and then he kills her. So like, or tries to kill her. So that to me is like the man in the back seat. That's creepy. There was a real story on the news a while back where, like, there was this guy that was hiding underneath this woman's car, and so when she walked up to it, like, he was trying to, like, I don't know, like, grab her by the knee. It's really or the ankles, I mean. It's really scary. I don't know. Stuff like that is creepy. I like one of the channel's older stories, the really tall lady over the hedges. Oh, the story has sounds like okay, we'll have to revisit that one maybe. Hopefully, we can revisit that one. I know with the compilations, we've been bringing back older stories and stuff like that, but the Ted Bundy story, okay, I know we're at time, but I have a story with that. So Ted Bundy is an interesting one because I lived in Colorado. My mom is Mormon. My mom had a church friend who grew up in Utah, Mormon, and her best friend was killed by Ted Bundy. I remember when I was 18 and I brought a book. It was like a true crime book, and he was on the cover, and she like freaked out, and she told me how like her best friend was killed by Ted Bundy. So the story goes is that in Utah, when he was doing all this awful stuff, they had curfew, and the two girls were at church, and they walked home together because I guess like a lot of the times he would abduct women by themselves, and women and girls. And anyway, so he like I guess he was close by or something like that because my mom's church friend said to her best friend, like, "Hey, you should come to that my house, or I should go to your house. We shouldn't split up." And then her friend was like, "No, I'm only like a house away. Literally, like in a minute, I'll be in my home." And her friend insisted that she could walk by herself, and because of that, she was abducted. Never heard from again. It's really tragic. Anyway, bye, Cooper. I think we've done La Llorona. We have done that story a few times. And we also done La Sihuaneva, which is similar for like for Guatemalans and Salvadorians, Central Americans. But that's a good recommendation. Tyler, I like one of the channel's older stories. Ted Bundy. Okay. Serbian. Yeah, the Serbian dancing lady. Oh my God, I remember that one. All right, so we're at time. This was a very fun live. Thank you guys for joining. I know it's been a minute, so but I hope to have another live. And if you have any questions, you know where to ask away, and also submit your spooky stories. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.